Shade Nursery.
Are they over there? They should have about 30 seats. LGBT? LGBT is good? Okay, UIB is good? Okay, we'll do good. So then you put does everyone know what they're supposed to be? All the signs up. Okay, I need everybody to go ahead. I can see for myself that everyone knows where they're supposed to go.
Do you have a sound? Check your level. Check. 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1. You good? All right.
Per person or per both? $25 total. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it.
not worried about that. Everybody understand what you mean. We're going to be right where we need to be, right beside you. But if you know that they're driving, I'm the one that forgot about it. This is not the mind these motherfuckers. Well,
This your favorite song, with a booty on. Girl, I know it's all about you. I'm saying no names, but you know what I'm saying. I can tell it by the way that you are. about you. I bet you think this song is about you. Call up all your friends on the phone right now. Tell them all to come up to the room right now. It's a lot of things we can do right now. About to get another room right now. Front desk calling us saying turn that down. Take another puff, baby, burn that down. It's a lot of girls, it's a ton. You know you the one. Got a room full of fly girls. Got a thing for a shy girl. You wanna be my girl. It's all about you. Get funny like you should, girl. Cause I love it when I'm a girl. Run around and be a good girl. This is your favorite song. When they put it on. Girl, I know you know it's all about you. I ain't saying no names, but you know what I'm saying. I can tell it by the way that you move. But you think this song is about you, don't you? Don't you think this song is about you? But you think this song is about you, don't you? But you think this song is about you. It's your favorite song. Baby, put it on it. Girl, I know you know it's all about you. I ain't saying no names, but you know what I'm saying. I can tell it by the way that you move. Girl, you know it's all about you.
I can see that bullshit from a mile away. See it. You can step my mother about a mile away. Stack it. I got 3 white bitches like it's powder day. Meat coat with no rolls like a Sharpay. And all of my bitches since they call them Barbies. She looking back like I'm flexing, baby, no way. And lately I've been on that juice. Me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah, I done got me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah. Money in my pants, I got money, I got change. 20, 50, 100 million, man. On a double, streaming, video, bang. If I need some rest, I'ma flip me some packs. I talk like I want it, she don't say nothing back. If cop pull up, I put that crack in my crack. Or I put that brack in my brack. Call a shorty, made her fuck on my brody. If you don't owe me, bitch, still act like you owe me. I promise I won't ever quit, bitch, I'm Kobe. And I will that white, you can snow me. Snow that young thugger, I will be that bitch that you know me, young thugger. Yeah, she shining like butter, the bitch from Chicago, I call her young thugger. Leave it to people, I pull up in Billy's with like they all wanna meet. Yeah, they all wanna greet them, they put out their pants and they all wanna eat them. No, they won't tease on that dick, they won't read on that dick, they won't leash on that dick. Don't flex to that dick, mama see to that dick, they won't snitch on that dick. And she screaming loud, she can't secret that dick. Mama a bitch on that dick, if she bad, I'ma go in 4 season that bitch. What? Eat that little bitch, I'ma feast that little bitch. Yeah, me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah, I done got me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah, I done got me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah, I done got me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah, money on my money, I got money on my brain. Money in my pants, I got money, I got change. 20, 50, 100, 100 million, man. Hey, I'm a double, streaming, bleeding.
your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind like wasted heart. When you left me with no choice. I'm looking for a boy to fill this empty void. Kiss the old me goodbye, she's dead and gone, dead and gone. Oh, wasted heart. You took the last bit of love I've ever had. You took a good girl and you turned me on so bad. Kiss the old me goodbye, she's dead and gone, dead and gone. Oh, all hands on deck. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind like that. All hands on deck. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind like that. Wasted heart. Done this to death do us apart. I watch you fold like a house of cards. Kiss the old me goodbye, she's dead and gone, dead and gone, dead and gone. One by one, I watch you fall down, watch you fall like dominoes. Take no business, switch and destroy. Baby, look at what you've done. One by one, I watch you go down, watch you fall like dominoes. Watch you go down, watch you go down, watch you go down. All hands on deck. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind like that. And you know that I tried when I gave my all. Everything that we built, hey, baby, you let it fall, and now you want me. Hey, hold me back now. And the thing that's so funny is, baby, I'm long gone, down. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. Blow your mind like that. All hands on deck. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind, take it out on the floor like that, like that. All in the front, all in the back, just like that, like that. I'ma blow your mind like that.
I wish I could paint all of these moments in vibrant. You play, turns into gunplay, gunplay, turns into pillow talk, turns into sweet dreams, turn into coffee in the morning. We talk street art, sarcasm, crass humor in high fashion. Peach color moon glistens, the plot thickens as we laugh over shotguns and tongue kisses. Bubble bath, truth or dare, and would you rather? A cold flame, the dull and no shame. Drug, sex, and Polaroid. Pick a star in the sky, we could both say goodbye. Oh, I wish.
Can you hear me talking now?
1, 2.
All right, I'm gonna set all the mics at the same level. Now you don't want any. Right, that's what you're hearing. Yeah, it's just the music.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Really? No, I cut the music out. Wait a minute. No, yeah, the music's cut. I had the music going through your line, but I cut it out. So you want me to leave the music out of your line, right? You want me to leave the music out of your line? Well, the fashion troupe, when they dance, that's it. But, all right, I'm about, well, all right, all right, I set all the mics the same level. So the mics are all the mics are all the same level. Well, the audio gonna be adjusted based upon, because I gotta switch out from this to a laptop. So it's like I gotta switch it all out. Then I'm gonna kill everything and bring it back up on the line.
you got, cause I don't wanna waste my time. See me in the spotlight, ooh, I love your style. Show me what you got now, come and make it worth my while. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Baby, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Give me, I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Baby, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Give me, I'm worth it. It's all on you, it's all on you. It's all on you, so what you wanna do? And if you don't have a clue, not a clue, I'll tell you what to do. Come harder just because I don't like it too soft. I like it a little rough, not too much, but maybe just enough. You see me in the spotlight, ooh, I love your style. Show me what you got, cause I don't wanna waste my time. See me in the spotlight, ooh, I love your style. Show me what you got now, come on, make it worth my while. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Baby, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Know what I mean? Baby, I'm worth it. Give me everything. I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it.
Okay, I tell her bring it back like she loves some. Bring it back like she loves some. In the club with the lights off, but you acting shy for. Come and show me that you're with it, with it, with it, with it, with it. Stop playing, now you know that I'm with it, with it.
Good evening, everyone.
With it, with it. What you
The overflow is in Hubbard Hot.
See me in the spotlight, ooh,
The overflow of the building should be in Hubbard Hot.
Show me what you got, cause
Okay,
I don't
so there's
wanna
no
waste
more
my time.
For summer
See me in the
reserve, so
spotlight, ooh, I love your
please
style.
make your way accordingly. Okay, thank you.
Show me what you got now, come on, make it worth my while. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Baby, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Give me, I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Know what I mean? Baby, I'm worth it. Give me everything. I'm worth it. Give me, I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it.
Getting engaged is like is the first hill of the roller coaster, and you hear those clicking, the loud sound. It's really violent metal chunk, and you go, what's going on here? You know, boy, this thing's really goes high. And then you go over the top. The wedding is at the top. You go over the top is the wedding, and then you just scream it.
Well, even if you make plans, you never think you're really ready for marriage.
No, it's like any growth. You can't be ready for it because it's growth. It's going to be new. It's going to be new. You're going to have a new life. You're going to be a new person.
Couldn't make you wait forever, for forever. This is forever.
If there's a question of my heart, you got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. Hey, if there's a question of my love, you got it. Baby, don't worry, I got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, love. Baby, I've been making plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Baby, I've been making plans for
My sincerest apology. I mean it. Look, I'll admit it, albeit pathetic, that I'm in my late 20s, still never been to a wedding. Guess the idea of that lobby empty, do not sit with me well. It's not your fault they try to get me, cause I'ma need your sales, cause I'm selfish. And I need you to myself, trying to see you afloat, but don't want to see you sail, cause I failed. I see you about to cry, cause when I enter they city, they leave without their pride. I'm sorry. And you staring at my comments, fearing it's gonna always be you sharing me with all them. Wrong. How dare I say ignore them? Preparing for that day, I leave you here and switch you for them. It's hard, you know, temptation and all. Bitches out here trying to see if my relationship's strong. Get a place in the chart, so run away from your heart. Gave this music my all, nothing is sacred no more. I'm wrong. I'm promising you better though. Your friends saying let them go. And we ain't getting any younger. I can give them now, but I can promise you forever though. That's right.
You got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. Hey, if that's a question of my love, you got it. Baby, don't worry, I got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, love. Baby, I've been making plans for you. Baby, I've been making plans.
We really should have a rule.
Baby,
really should have a rule.
plans for
Really should have a rule.
Yeah.
You have a new love. I'll admit it. Let me be hypothetical. The day I find a woman, I'd probably be scared to share it. The idea of me finding love will run somebody off. And true, my wall could use some plaques, but still I got a flaws. Brush you off. Yeah, I'm kinda lost. Now I'm up in the club with a couple of move-ons. Sipping dark. Good nigga, troubled heart. Went from falling in love to drunk and falling apart. This is hard. Trying to find some time to move on. So when we lost our baby, I got shady, shit got too dark. I'm sorry. And I thank you, baby, you strong. My ex before you married to you solo, I say so long. Nah, good terms how that ended. But it surely put a dent on how I worry about this business. Off-white picket fences, on flights with the children, on site stealing kisses, on off nights my intentions. But I plan to do it better though. But you still saying let it go. And we ain't getting any younger. Women love me now, but in your eyes she forever though.
Baby, wow. You got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. If that's a question of my love, you got it. Baby, don't worry, I got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, baby, baby, I've been making plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, baby, baby, I've been making plans for you. Yeah.
Ain't nothing but some plans.
I always feel like I'm a planet, and these other women that are kind of moving through this solar system with me. And marriage is like you decide to jump off of your planet across to another planet. And you can only do it when one planet passes real close. And you look and you go, hey, I think I could jump across.
I keep dwelling on the past, babe. Know what I need, yeah. I need some real good loving, 'cause I'm troubled by the things that I see. Ooh, I need some real good loving. Ain't nobody been around here loving on me.
It's better to love and then lost than never to love at all. If that was true, I wouldn't be drinking this alcohol. Every relationship failed or take a toll on you, especially when you had hoes and area codes on you. Is it easier to erase my memories at a point when most of my past women became my enemies? Some on the fence, some befriending me, but when we see each other, it's gonna be some weird energy. I'm sorry that we couldn't make it work. Believe in your heart, I never intended to make it hurt. Now they see me on the blogs with my new girl. Friends talking about that's supposed to be you, girl.
I need some real good loving, 'cause I'm troubled by the things that I see. Ooh, I need some real good loving. Ain't nobody been around here loving on me. Loving on me.
I got an empty hole in my chest. How do I feel it? Somebody give a prescription. I guess I gotta learn to live with regrets. Pay for mistakes and your exes take a commission. But what's a percent off the top when you hit the bottom? After you break up, wondering how to live without them. Need solutions, less problems, 'cause if love will drive you crazy, I belong in the insane asylum. Hear the rain, feel the pain inside them. Kinda lost, need someone to guide them. It's nothing worse than feeling alone, but I'll admit to feeling better when I'm hearing this song. It goes,
I need some real good loving, 'cause I'm troubled by the things that I see.
it goes.
I need some real good loving. Ain't nobody been around here loving on me. Yeah, so I'm dwelling on the past, on the moments on repeat, baby. The song and I'm blowing my heart, feeding my heart to a lion called killed on an empty bed, on an empty bed. Oh yeah, baby. Playing empty song now, baby. Feeding my heart to a lion called killed, yeah. So you know what I need? I need some real good loving, 'cause I'm troubled by the things that I see. Yeah, love, I need some real good loving, yeah. 'Cause ain't nobody been around here. Ain't nobody been around here, baby. Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, love. Oh, yeah, yeah. Put it in you now, baby. Put it on you now, baby.
I was sitting here for you. We were made to love. We were made to love. You were sent for me too. We were made to love. We were made to love. Oh, I've never seen anything. You're much more than you and me. Extraordinary machine. Oh, I never loved someone like this. All I know is I was in here for you. We were made to love. We were made to love. You were sent for me too. We were made to love. We were made to love. Perfect work of art, I knew right from the start. Oh, I was never sure of a God before, but I know he must exist. He created this. I was in here for you. We were made to love.
love. You were sent for me too. We were made to love. We were made to love. I was in here for you. You were sent for me too. I was in here for you. You were sent for me too.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Come on, come on. Hey, I wanna tell you, yeah. Hey baby, how you doing tonight? I wanna let you know. I wanna tell you just how I feel. I wanna love you, baby, and it's going so right. I wanna burn a candle, turn the darkness to light. With the fire we make, it's getting hotter and hotter, like a moth to a flame. I can't stay away from the fire we make. It's getting higher and higher, like the night to the day. I can't stay away. No, no, no.
Yeah.
No, 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 stay away.
Hey baby, won't you tell me the truth? You wanna be the one. You can't stay away. Oh, hey darling, don't you make no excuse. We can chase the sun and burn a hole inside you. From the fire we make, it's getting hotter and hotter.
Check it out. It feels kind of crazy. These covers, they keep me warm at night, but they can't take your place, 'cause they're never gonna hold me tight. And these pillows, they let me rest my head, but they can't say goodnight and tuck me in before I go to bed. Say now, baby girl, you're better off, that's what I'm telling myself. But I'm lying to myself, 'cause I know I don't want nobody else. These lips are missing you, 'cause these lips ain't kissing you. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. These arms are wanting you, 'cause these arms ain't holding you. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. These candles light up my room at night, but they can't light the room the way you did when you walked inside. Oh, baby, if these walls could sing about everything they've witnessed, oh, it'd be a sad, sad song, and it'd probably sound something like this. I say now, baby girl, you're better off, that's what I'm telling myself. But I'm lying to myself, 'cause I know I don't want nobody else. 'Cause these lips are missing you, 'cause these lips ain't kissing you. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. These arms are wanting you, 'cause these arms ain't holding you. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. Tell me when the hell this loneliness is gonna be over, when everything in this room reminds me of you. Every time I think I'm getting closer, these tears drive me out, and once again I lose. 'Cause these lips are missing you, 'cause these lips ain't kissing you. I'll put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. These arms are wanting you, 'cause these arms ain't holding you. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. Crying like, oh, these eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. Crying like, these eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win. These eyes put up a fight, but once again, these tears always win.
Woke up this morning, found a letter that she wrote. She said she's tired, that I'm always on the road. Too hard to swallow, being alone. She needs someone at night that she can hold. She must have told me 1,000 times more. Silent cries I used to ignore. God knows I love her, didn't mean hurt her. Maybe I'll be on you, baby. Promise I'll be here to the very end. And I'll be by your side to protect you and to love you and to be with you for life. Come home to me, Charlie. She knows I really love this whole music thing. Since I was a child, it's been my dream. I can't support her, treat her and spoil her. You know, buy her the finer things. But I forgot about loving her. Damn the money, diamonds and furs. What about the hard days she had with the baby? All she needs is for me to love. Sitting here waiting on you. I'll be waiting. Promise I'll be here to the very end. Said I promise I'll be here. Oh no, no. To love you and to be with you for life. Hey, come home to me, Charlie. Promise I can't live without her. God knows I need a loving. And it hurts so bad that she's gone away. I pray she'll come back one day in my life. Say I won't go nowhere. Come on to me, baby. Sometimes I cry. Charlene, if you're listening, would you call on me?
Oh.
Look at these bros, look at these clothes, look at this dough, look at this gold, look at evil. Look at me then, look at these hoes. Just ain't fucking with me, killer. Look at these bros, look at these clothes, look at this dough, look at this gold, look at evil. Look at me then, look at these hoes. These ain't fucking with me.
All right, Cherry.
Killer, 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 killer. My money on it, we not gon' need to set it up. But don't need to come down, let it ride there for they call me low. My Willie, they can tell I know me, they can tell me no. If you got heart, let it be there while they sinking, don't let you think so. Tear it up, I'm so damn cool. 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 Look at these bros, look at these gloves, look at this dough, look at this gold, look at evil. Look at me then, look at these hoes. With me, killer. Look at these bros, look at these gloves, look at this dough, look at this gold, look at evil. Look at me then, look at these hoes. Fucking with me, killer. Killer, 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 killer.
All right, Cherry. All right, Cherry.
Please don't disturb me. No, don't disturb, no.
Like a copper, I'm copping the feel. Little mama got ass when she walking them hills. She love when I eat it, she make it a meal. Baby girl screaming, I give her a pillow so no one can hear.
You right in my neck with my legs in the air. Tell me you love me, then pull on my hair. I like your rocks, don't be gentle, my nigga. It ain't rocket science, it's simple, my nigga. Please don't disturb, please don't disturb, no. Please don't disturb.
You wanna hot body? You wanna Bugatti? You wanna Maserati? You better work. You wanna Lamborghini? Sip martinis, look hot in a bikini. You better work. You wanna live fancy, live in a big mansion, party in France. You better work. You better work. You better work. You better work. Now get to work. Now get to work. Ring it on, won't stop now, just be the champion. Work it hard like it's a rocket show. Watch out now, 'cause here it goes. Here comes the smash up, here comes the master, here comes the big beat to blast off. No time to quit now, just start to get it now. Pick up what I'm putting down, pick up what I'm putting down. You want a hot body? You want a Bugatti? You want a Maserati? You better work. You want a Lamborghini? Sip martinis, look hot in a bikini. You better work. You wanna live fancy, live in a big mansion, party in France. You better work. You better work. You better work. You better work. Now get to work. Lift it to her.
You ain't gotta worry about that, just if somebody doing something better than me and they in pocket, they gonna be right where they need to be, right beside me, baby.
You know what that is, rattling?
I'm the one they forgot about. I need some help reminding these motherfuckers. Can you help me? So cold. It's God's work. I ain't got nothing even to do with this. It's God's work, man. It's God's work. I ain't got nothing to do with this. All the dancers, you know what to do. I made this part for you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Say right now, look at here. A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Where you from? Where that at? Where you headed? What is that? What you doing? Feeling that? Get that fucking cake up. Open your mind. Love you. Keep your distance. Unless you wanna get with this. Me and the renegade, like grenades, throwing up mine. Dime and food. Chocolate like sumo. Nigga hungry like Cujo. Smoking that Pluto. No ticking time like hand on the rope. Nigga feel beautiful. No pop break with a nigga in the loop. You wanna roll some grass? Don't do that. Hey, you ain't trying to pass? Don't do that. You gotta drink the mask? Don't do that. Finna act a ass? Don't do that. Say right now, a nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Get back down. Get on up. Get on up. This is what you feels like. So uncut, I'm involved. On that climb, me rockin' Montclair. White chick, long hair. But with a black man, yeah. I shine like this. Luminescent spit. Get bright right quick. This is good as it gets. Two top calls like a motherfucking Ritz. I only like hits. 6 P.E.C. a nigga never miss. You see this black fist? The nigga come number one like the old MP. You wanna roll some grass? Don't do that. Hey, you ain't trying to pass? Don't do that. You gotta drink the mask? Don't do that. Finna act a ass? Don't do that. Say right now, a nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. You wanna roll some grass? Don't do that. Hey, you ain't trying to pass? But don't do that. You gotta drink the mask? Don't do that. You ready to act a ass? Don't do that. Say right now, a nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose. Huh? A nigga finna get loose.
Good evening. Good evening to all you amazing and beautiful people here tonight. My name is Trinice McNally, and I'm the new LGBTA director here at North Carolina Central. On behalf of the Lyceum Committee and our Chancellor, Deborah Saunders White, we would just like to say welcome to Lyceum's first event for the 2015-2016 school year. Of course, you know why you're here. Laverne will be coming out shortly. Before we do that, we just want to clap it up for D-Hot Allure. And I also want to take some time to go ahead and acknowledge members of the LGBTA Center, the ambassadors, the Lavender Project, and also Colors that are here tonight as well. A quick fact about the center. In the state of North Carolina, North Carolina Central is actually the first HBCU to have an LGBT center. So let's clap it up for that. So for your safety, before we go on, I want you to locate your exit signs just in case anything happens. They're on your left and your right. Also, the bathrooms are directly outside in the atrium. For the balcony, they're also on your left and your right as well. I'm going to ask you to silence your cell phones so you don't disturb anyone around you. You don't have to turn them off, but we don't want to hear your ringing in the middle of the performance. And also, when we get to the question and answer portion, please make your questions a little bit short and make sure that they're appropriate. All right, so I just want to say thank you for coming out, and we're going to have Deatron Sutton to come out to introduce her.
Good evening, everyone. With various firsts in her already impressive career, the Emmy-nominated actress, documentary film producer, and prominent equal rights advocate, Laverne Cox continues to make history in her career and significant strides in her activism. Debuting on the scene in the groundbreaking role of Sophia Bursette in the critically acclaimed Netflix original series, Orange is the New Black, which returned for its third season on June 12th. As the first trans woman of color to have a leading role on a main scripted television show, is now expanding her presence on the small screen with the much anticipated CBS legal drama, Doubt. Laverne has earned numerous honors and award nominations for her work in advocacy, from being featured on the cover of Time magazine and an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series to a SAG Award for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Comedy Series. An advocate with an empowering message of moving beyond gender expectation to live more authentically. She was also named as one of Glamour's magazine's 2014 Women of the Year, the first Griot's 100 Most Influential African Americans, and the top 50 trans icons by the Huffington Post. She was also honored with the Courage Award from the Anti-Violence Project and the Reader's Choice Award from Out magazine, among other accolades. As she continues to be the voice driving transgender awareness and equality, Laverne's message continues to resonate with audiences and drive position and positive change over a global scale. Please join me in welcoming Laverne Cox.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that warm welcome, North Carolina Central University. Oh, that feels so good. I need to take you everywhere I go. When I'm feeling down, you can just do that. Thank you so much, Deatron Sutton, for that lovely introduction. Please make some noise for Deatron. I'd also like to acknowledge all of the co-sponsors and everyone who worked so tirelessly to make this event possible. Please make some noise for all of them. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you for coming out to hear little old me speak tonight. It means the world to me. You're looking lovely tonight. Yes, you are. And I think you must really like me because you're missing the season premiere of Scandal tonight. To be here, I know the Pope is visiting the United States, but Olivia Pope is the Pope I've really been waiting to see. But all kidding aside, I'm so happy to be with you this evening. And I stand here before you tonight a proud African-American transgender woman. From a working class background, raised by a single mother, I stand before you an artist, an actress, a sister, and a daughter, and I believe it's important to name the various intersecting components of my multiple identities, because I'm not just one thing, and neither are you. I believe it's important to claim the various intersecting components of my multiple identities with pride in public, because I've not always been able to do so. I've often carried tremendous amounts of shame about various aspects of who I am. And let's face it, folks, being a black, working class, transgender woman isn't necessarily a celebrated class in this society. But we're working to change that, right? According to the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs, the homicide rate in the LGBTQ community is highest amongst trans women. Over 50% of all LGBTQ homicides are trans women. This year alone, 21 trans women have been found murdered. This is the deadliest year on record for trans women, and most of them are trans women of color. According to the Injustice at Every Turn National Transgender Survey, the unemployment rate in the transgender community is twice the national average, 4 times that for trans people of color. 16% of the transgender population has experienced incarceration compared to 1% of the rest of the population, and 78% of students in grades K through 12 who express a transgender or gender non-conforming identity experience harassment or bullying. 78%. It is a state of emergency for far too many trans people across this nation, but as Dr. Cornel West reminds us, justice is what love looks like in public. That's good, right? Justice is what love looks like in public, and trans and gender nonconforming people can use some justice, some love. Today, poor and working people can use some justice, some love. Today, people of color can use some justice, some love. Today, people with disabilities can use some justice, some love today. And ain't I a woman? It is my belief that one of the biggest obstacles facing the transgender community are points of view which disavow our identities, points of view that suggest that no matter what we do, we are always and only the gender we were assigned at birth, points of view that suggest that no matter what I do, I'll never be a woman yet. Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a woman? We've all heard of Sojourner Truth here, yes? Sojourner Truth, the legendary abolitionist and women's rights activist, made an iconic speech on May 29th, 1851. That happens to be my birthday. Different year, though. I'm not quite that old, although that would be a fierce moisturizer, though, wouldn't it? We could make $1 billion with that moisturizer. Sojourner Truth in 1851 made an iconic speech at the Ohio Women's Convention. And even though she never uttered the phrase, ain't I a woman, 12 years later, the speech would become known as the Ain't I a Woman speech. And on that fateful day, she made her speech in the context of a women's liberation struggle that in many ways suggested she wasn't really a woman, wasn't fully a woman because she was black. She made her speech in a social context that denied her very humanity because she was black. There's a famous story about Sojourner Truth. In 1858, she was apparently giving a speech in Silver Lake, Indiana, and someone apparently yelled from the audience accusing her of being a man, which happened often to suffragettes at the time. And Sojourner Truth famously opened her blouse and revealed her breast. Now, I'm not going to reveal my breast tonight. Sorry to disappoint some of you. But I do stand here this evening claiming my womanhood in a social context, which would often deny it. My feminist idol, a woman by the name of Bell Hooks. Have we heard of Bell Hooks here, some of us? Yes? Bell Hooks used the title of the famous Sojourner Truth speech, Ain't I a Woman, for her first book. She titled it, Ain't I a Woman, Black Women and Feminism. And in it, she chronicles the historic devaluation of black womanhood in America. She was critical of various aspects of women's liberation struggle that she felt silenced the voices of black women, women of color. And she was also critical of various aspects of black liberation struggle that she felt silenced the voices of black women. She spoke of intersectional issues of race, class, and gender over 30 years ago before it was popular, well, at least in certain circles, to do so. And I discovered Bell Hooks' work when I was a gender non-conforming college student in New York City, not unlike many of you here this evening. And her words were like oxygen to me. I came to critical consciousness reading her books. And there was another feminist theorist whose work really spoke to me when I was a college student in New York City. And her name is Judith Butler. Have you heard of Judith Butler here, some of us? Yeah? Good old Judy B. And there's a specific moment in Judith Butler's seminal book, Gender Trouble, that really spoke to me when I was a college student. There's a moment in the book when she's doing a critical analysis of Simone de Beauvoir's famous book, The Second Sex. We know Simone de Beauvoir here, some of us, yes? Look into her, major. Simone de Beauvoir famously wrote, "One is not born a woman, but rather becomes one." Now, the first time I read this, I was very, very excited. This, even though I wasn't quite ready to claim my own womanhood, this idea of becoming, this idea of existence preceding essence was really exciting to me. And Judith Butler, in her analysis of this moment, writes, "Nowhere in de Beauvoir's account is it guaranteed that the one who becomes a woman is necessarily female." Now, I was very, very excited the first time I read this. So one is not born a woman, but rather becomes one. But it is not guaranteed that the one who becomes a woman is necessarily female. And ain't I a woman? Years before I was a gender non-conforming college student in New York City, I began becoming in Mobile, Alabama. Is there any Alabama in the house tonight? Hey, I see you. I think this is one of us. I got you. And as I said, I was born to a single mother. I was born exactly 7 minutes before my identical twin brother, so that means I'm older, and I never let him forget it. And unfortunately, that means he's younger, and he never lets me forget that. He's like, "I'm younger." I'm like, "Okay, it's just 7 minutes, chill." And so my mother often had to work 2, sometimes 3 jobs to take care of my brother and me, but she eventually became a teacher, and so education was really important in our household. And my mother was keen to make sure that my brother and I were aware of the rich history of racial oppression we were born into, being born in Alabama, but she also made sure we were aware of the rich history of resistance to that racial oppression. Alabama is the state, as many of you know, where the Governor George Wallace stood in the doors of the University of Alabama to keep that school from being desegregated in the early 1960s, but it is also the state where Rosa Parks in 1955 refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus to a white man, which was the law at the time, and that defiant act was a catalyst for the Montgomery bus boycott and a seminal moment in our nation's civil rights struggle. That all happened in Alabama, and so much more. We've all seen the movie Selma, yes? Yet another example of that deep history from my home state. Stuff went down in Alabama, and before I knew anything about myself, I knew that I was black. Now, when I started interacting with other kids in preschool, I was greeted with words like sissy, words like the F word, that's a synonym for sissy that I don't like to say, but I think you know what I mean. And from preschool up until about high school, I was bullied practically every single day. I was called names by the other kids. I was taunted by them. They said I acted like a girl, whatever that means, because we know girls act all sorts of ways, right? And I believe if we are really serious about ending the bullying of our LGBTQ youth, we have to begin to create spaces of gender self-determination for all our youth. Now, when I think about the bullying that I experienced as a young person, I think about a number of things. I think, first of all, that it is curious that anti-gay slurs were used to bully me, but I was really being bullied because of my gender expression. I didn't act the ways in which someone assigned male at birth was supposed to act according to the other kids. Now, the flawed logic of the gender binary model, the gender system that we all exist under, basically that flawed logic conflates sexual orientation and gender identity. We all know that sexual orientation is who you're attracted to, and gender identity is how you identify in terms of being male, female, both, neither. It's all good. That flawed logic of the gender binary model basically says that if one is born with a penis, they should be masculine and attracted to women. If one is born with a vagina, they should be feminine and attracted to men. But we know the realities of our lives, our lived experiences defy that binary model. And it's important to note, too, that this binary model is very much institutionalized. The very idea of male and female bathrooms, for example, is a really good example of how the gender binary model is institutionalized. But often, each of us as individuals are called upon to be the gender police, to enforce very rigid ideas about what it means to be a man, woman, both, neither. It's all good. And this gender system cannot exist without policing. And I often like to imagine what would it be like for a day, a week, a month, or a year if each of us decides that we're not going to be the gender police today, that we're going to allow people to express their gender in ways that feel most authentic to them. What a wonderful world that would be. Another thing I think about when I think about the bullying I experienced as a young person is my mother's reaction when she would find out what was happening to me. My mother would often say to me, "What are you doing to make the kids treat you that way, and why aren't you fighting back?" Now, I have to be honest, there was something in me as a kid that felt I was above duking it out on the schoolyard with other kids. I'll say it, I felt I was above it. And quite frankly, I was terrified. It was really scary. There was often 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or 5, or even 6 kids chasing me home. When I would get off the bus from school, I had to immediately start running, or I would get beaten up that day. And I was scared, and it was terrifying. I still have a lot of trauma associated with that. But when my mother would say, "What are you doing to make them treat you that way?" I was just being myself. I was just acting in ways that felt most authentic to me. And so her reaction made me feel like it was my fault, that there was something inherently about me that was wrong, that was damaged, that was flawed. And it was the beginning of me internalizing a tremendous amount of shame about who I am. And when I talk about shame, I like to allude to Brene Brown's work on this subject. Do we know Brene Brown, some of us? Yeah? Oh my God, if you don't know Brene Brown, get your life with Brene Brown. She has a couple of legendary TED Talks. I would suggest starting off with the TED Talks and then delving into the books. Brene Brown is a noted shame researcher, and she's a qualitative researcher, so her research happens over, she's done thousands of interviews over 15 plus years with different people, and she specifically researches shame, vulnerability, etc. And Brene Brown defines shame as the intensely painful belief that one is unlovable, that one is unworthy of connection and belonging. She tells us that guilt is I did something wrong, and shame is I am wrong. And from a very early age, I began to feel that I was wrong. So I didn't feel fully safe at school, and I didn't feel fully safe at home, but where I did feel safe was in my imagination. I loved to dance as a kid, and I was pretty good at it, if I must say so myself. I was really good at looking at choreography on television and imitating it perfectly. And from about the age of 5 years old till 3rd grade, I begged my mother to put me into dance classes. And finally, when I was in 3rd grade, she found a program called Culture in Black and White for me and my brother. And Culture in Black and White was an arts program for low-income kids in my hometown of Mobile, Alabama. And once a week, I got to go and study the thing that I loved to do most. I had dreams of becoming a professional dancer and transitioning to acting. I would always have music in my head, and I would dance around everywhere. And I really believe because I had something that I loved to do as a kid, something that I was truly passionate about and good at, that saved my life. I believe if we can find something that we are truly passionate about in this world, that it can be life-saving. But there was a compromise. My mom told me that I can take tap and jazz, but not ballet. Ballet, she said, was too gay. I don't know, something about the tights or something. I'm not entirely sure what her rationale was. But I didn't care because I got to do what I loved to do most. Now, 3rd grade is the moment in my childhood when another seminal moment happened. And it happened one day when my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Ridgway, called my mother on the phone and said, "Your son is going to end up in New Orleans wearing a dress if we don't get him into therapy right away." I was the son in question. They were confused. And yeah, this really happened. And some of you who know my story may have heard that before, but what you might not know is the inciting incident which led to the call to my mother. So we had gone to Six Flags on a church trip. More about the church later. So we had gone to Six Flags on a church trip, and I had a very little bit of spending money. And I remember going to the gift shop at Six Flags. And the moment I walked into the crowded gift shop, there it was. I saw it, a handheld fan. And the moment I saw this handheld fan, I knew I had to have it. Now, what you should know about this is I seen Gone with the Wind a few weeks before that. And for all of you Southerners, you probably know this, but for those of you who don't know, Gone with the Wind, and the main character of Gone with the Wind is Scarlett O'Hara, and she famously and very glamorously fans herself with a handheld fan. So, I'm sitting in 3rd grade, fanning myself. Just fanning away, feeling very Scarlett O'Hara, feeling very Gone with the Wind, fabulous. And Miss Ridgway looks at me, she says, "Come here and bring that thing with you." And then she marches me down the hall to Miss Fairley's classroom, the 5th grade teacher, and she says to me, "Show her what you were doing with that thing." And I'm like, "Yeah." Start fanning. I'm fanning away, my invisible hair blowing in the wind. She's like, "Okay, stop. Now go back to class." And then my mother got the call. And so I remember sitting in the therapist's office, and the therapist asked me if I knew the difference between a boy and a girl. And in my infinite wisdom as a 3rd grader, because 3rd graders are so wise, right? I said, there is no difference. Now, I know, right? Now, this is years before Judith Butler, any kind of gender theory, but the way that I reasoned, the way that I rationalized in my mind at the time is that everyone was telling me that I was a boy, but I knew in my heart, in my soul, in my spirit that I was a girl. And so I reasoned that there must not be any difference, and I didn't know how to really explain it beyond that. I was in 3rd grade, after all, and now, another thing is that I watched a lot of television as a kid, and so on television I had heard about this thing called doctor-patient privilege, and so I had assumed that everything I said to the therapist was between me and the therapist. Apparently 3rd graders do not have doctor-patient privilege. And so everything I said to the therapist, my mother found out about, and my mother yelled at me and said, "You're a boy, and boys are this, and girls are this." And when my mother would yell, the entire house would shake. That's what it felt like. And it was another moment in my childhood where I felt deeply shamed about being who I was. I mean, at the end of the day, what's so wrong with a little kid wanting to fan themselves like Scarlett O'Hara? It's kind of adorable, right? But I was made to feel a tremendous amount of shame about it, and I continued the therapy sessions for a few more sessions, and eventually there was talk about injecting me with testosterone to make me more masculine. And luckily for me, a red flag went up for my mother. Something didn't seem quite right to her about injecting her 3rd grader pre-puberty with testosterone to make them more masculine. And so the therapy was discontinued, but the damage was done. Now, we were members of Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church growing up. Does anyone know the AME Church here? Yes? Awesome. For those of you who don't know, the AME Church, or the African Methodist Episcopal Church, is the oldest all-black denomination in the United States. It was started in around 1794 by a guy named Richard Allen and several of his colleagues in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you ever do a tour of Philly, which I got to do a couple of years ago, you can see the very first AME church. It's called Mother Bethel, and some historians suggest that it is the oldest all-black owned real estate in the United States. But we were members of Bethel AME Church in Mobile, Alabama, and going to church every single Sunday was pretty much mandatory. And there were a lot of wonderful things about the church for me growing up. The spirituality that I carry with me to this day started in the AME church that I grew up in. Even though I don't subscribe to organized religion now as an adult, I consider myself a very spiritual person. I very much believe in God, and I pray every day, multiple times a day. And church was wonderful for me too, because it presented yet another performance opportunity. I loved to perform as a kid, and so in church I was an usher. I sang in the choir, and I was always one of those kids getting up and making speeches. So apparently not much has changed. But church was another place where I learned that who I was authentically was not only something I would be shamed for, but also was something that was a sin, would mean that I would rot in eternal damnation. These are very serious things. When I was in 6th grade, I started to go through puberty, and this was a very difficult and confusing time for me. I remember distinctly, I would go to bed at night saying to myself that I don't want to grow up and turn into a man. I prayed to God that to make me a girl. But puberty happened anyway. And as puberty happened, I realized I was attracted exclusively to boys, and everyone was telling me I was a boy, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I was attracted to other boys, and I learned in church that this was a sin. And so this is another thing I internalized a tremendous amount of shame about. tremendous amount of shame about it. And something else happened when I was in 6th grade. It happened when my dear, sweet grandmother passed away. My grandmother was a remarkable woman. Her name was Emma Cox, but we called her Medea, kind of like the Tyler Perry character, but actually not anything like that Tyler Perry character. Most of us here know that Medea is short for Mother Dear and a term of endearment for black mothers and grandmothers here in the South. And when Medea passed away, it was a really difficult time in our family. We called her every day, and she was this remarkable woman who raised 10 kids by herself. My grandfather had issues. We don't even have time to get into all that. She couldn't really read or write, but she had this amazing sense of dignity and self-respect that she imparted on all her children and grandchildren. And when she passed away, I remember being in my bed late one night. I lay in my bed mourning her loss. I couldn't sleep, and I remember as I lay there thinking that she was up in heaven looking down on me, and I imagined that she knew every single thought that I was having, and I imagined she knew every single thought I was having about boys, and I imagined that she must be extremely disappointed in me, and the idea of disappointing Medea made me not want to live. And so I went to our medicine cabinet and took an entire bottle of pills and swallowed them and went to sleep, hoping not to wake up. But I did wake up the next day with a terrible stomach ache, and when I survived, I remember saying to myself that I would do everything I could to push down those feelings I was having for boys. I would do everything I could to act the way that I was supposed to, so I could make Medea and make my mother and everybody proud. I think it's important to note that 41% of all transgender people report having attempted suicide, 41% compared to 1% of the rest of the population. So in my efforts to push down my gender and sexuality in middle school, I became an overachiever. I was a member of the National Junior Honor Society. I was a straight-A student. I was public speaking champion in 8th grade, countywide. The entire county, yes. I'm still very proud of that one. And something else remarkable happened. I became vice president of the student council. Now, this to me, to this day, is remarkable because the student body had to vote for me. And if you recall, the students didn't like me. I was the kid they chased home from school every day and made fun of. But the year that I won, we all got to make speeches, and right after the speeches, the kids voted, so they didn't have time to think. And I remember the first line of my speech went something like this. Quality is my principle, and qualified is my attitude. What can I say? It was 7th grade. And to this day, I'm not entirely sure what a qualified attitude looks like. Maybe it's Donald Trump. I don't know. Or not. And the kids were like, wow. And to this day, I'm like, wow. And they voted for me, and I became vice president of the student council. And one of the super coolest things about this is that the next year, when I was in 8th grade, I got to lead the entire school in the Pledge of Allegiance on the intercom every single day. So this kid that everyone made fun of, that everyone, taunted and teased and bullied, they had to hear my voice every single day. It was awesome. Success really is the best revenge. Remember that, kids. So when I was in middle school as well, I heard about this school in Birmingham, Alabama, and the school is called the Alabama School of Fine Arts. And the second I heard about the Alabama School of Fine Arts, I knew I had to go there. Now, in the 1980s, there was a television show called Fame. Has anybody heard of this show called Fame? Oh my God, right? Fame was everything. And for those of you who don't know, Fame was a TV show in the 1980s that was set in New York City at the High School for Performing Arts. And it was sort of Glee, a couple decades before Glee. And every 10 minutes or so, the kids would break out into song and dance. And they would sing and dance down the hallways of the school. They would dance in the cafeteria, on the tables in the cafeteria. And they would take these dance numbers out into the streets and dance in the hoods of taxi cabs. It was fabulous. And so the moment I heard about the Alabama School of Fine Arts in my own state, I knew I had to go there, be a dance major, and dance on the tables in the cafeteria just like they did on Fame. But when I found out about the dance department at the Alabama School of Fine Arts, I found out it was a ballet-only program. And if you'll recall, my mother didn't allow me to study ballet because she thought I was too gay. And I needed to get in and get a scholarship, and I didn't think I'd be able to get a scholarship if I had never studied ballet before. So I was like, what am I going to do? I have to go to the Alabama School of Fine Arts, ASFA for short. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? And I said to myself, oh, I've been writing a lot and doing pretty well at it. So I said I could submit myself as a creative writing major, get in, get a scholarship, start studying ballet, and then switch my major to dance. Whew, and that's exactly what I did. So, yes. But I got to tell you, I was very disappointed when I finally got to the Alabama School of Fine Arts and discovered that the students did not dance on the tables in the cafeteria like they did on Fame. I tried to get it started a few times. It did not go over so well. But the Alabama School of Fine Arts was a lovely and wonderful time for me and my childhood for so many different reasons. My love and appreciation for all of the various artistic disciplines started when I was at the Alabama School of Fine Arts. My love for opera, which I have to this day, opera, not Oprah. I love her too. My love for opera developed when I was at the Alabama School of Fine Arts and all of the arts. Any given week I could go to a music recital, an evening of one-acts, poetry readings. It was a wonderful, wonderful time for me. But up until that point, most of the shame that I had internalized was about gender and sexuality. But when I got to the Alabama School of Fine Arts, I added race and class to the list of things I internalized tremendous amounts of shame about. Now, my brother and I were 2 of 3 black kids in the dorms at the Alabama School of Fine Arts. So there was one other black kid in the dorms besides my brother and me. And so not only was I going to school with mostly white kids from very affluent backgrounds, I was also living with mostly white kids from very affluent backgrounds. And I internalized a lot of feelings of feeling less than because I did not have the same material privilege these other kids had. I didn't have the same cultural exposure that they had had. I experienced being called a racial slur for the first time my freshman year at the Alabama School of Fine Arts. And when I think about this part of my story, I can't help but think about my brother. I think that it is curious that identical twins can grow up in the same household, go to the same schools, and have completely different experiences. A bit about my brother. My brother, many times people ask me, how does your brother identify? Is he gay, straight, trans? What's up with your brother? And so I asked him many years ago, what would you like me to say when people ask me about you? And he said, you can say that I'm a practicing homosexual because I prefer the idea of practice to orientation, and the term gay is a white bourgeois construct. This, of course, according to my brother. Those are his words, not mine. And in the spirit of intersectionality, my brother also identifies as punk rock, as Negro goth, and as a free black man. My brother is pretty awesome. I love him dearly. And in true punk rock fashion, my brother wasn't having any of that internalizing shame about race, class, and gender stuff. And when I think about this part of my story, again, I can't help but think about Brene Brown's work. In her research, she discovers that 2 people can experience the same incident in very different ways based on their self-talk, based on what they say to themselves about themselves in any particular circumstance. And she gives this example from her research. This actually happened in a 5th grade classroom. A teacher's giving back papers and says, I have a paper here without a name. I'll give you a name. Stupid. That's your name. Now, this actually happened in a 5th grade class. And the student who experiences this as humiliation, their self-talk will go something like, I didn't deserve that. That teacher shouldn't have called me stupid. I'm not stupid. And Brown tells us that their parent would very likely hear about this incident. Now, the student who experiences this as shame, their self-talk will go something like, yeah, I deserve that. I am stupid. And Brown tells us their parent would very likely not hear about this incident. There's no news. The teacher called me stupid. I am stupid. And Brown tells us that humiliation is far more adaptive than shame because humiliation often carries with it a healthy dose of pissed offedness, the variable being I did not deserve to be treated that way. She tells us that shame is linked to addiction, to depression, and all these things that keep us from living our best lives, from living wholehearted lives. If anyone is out there struggling with shame, and we are a shame-prone culture, I highly recommend Brene Brown's work. It has helped me so much build shame resilience. One other thing I'll say about her work is that she tells us that empathy is the antidote to shame. Empathy is the anecdote to shame. She tells us that shame cannot survive in an environment of empathy. Check out Brene Brown, if you will. So another really cool thing for me about being at the Alabama School of Fine Arts is that finally I was away from my mother, and I love my mother, but you know how it is. And I got to express myself more and express my gender more. The thing about me as a kid, and I didn't think it was good at the time, is that even though I was trying to push down my gender and sexuality, my femininity could not be contained. And finally, when I was away from my mom, I got to experiment with the way that I dressed. And I began wearing girls' and women's clothes for the first time and became a frequent customer of the Goodwill and Salvation Army thrift shops. Oh yeah, right? Oh my God, since I was terrified of wearing a dress or a skirt because I didn't want to end up in New Orleans wearing a dress the way my third grade teacher had predicted, I became a huge fan of culottes and wide-legged bell-bottoms. Oh yes, I loved culottes. And the great thing about culottes is that they look like a skirt, but they're really shorts. And when the kids would be like, "Are you wearing a skirt?" I'd be like, "Nope, they're shorts." And I had this pair of black velvet culottes that I wore all the time, even in the dead of summer, and summers in Alabama are very hot, and I was wearing velvet. I don't know what I was thinking, but I loved those culottes. And I remember I had this pair of polyester leopard print bell-bottoms that were so huge they sort of pooled on the floor behind me as I walked. They were quite the hidden homeroom. And I remember this particular pair of polyester leopard print bell-bottoms started out as a jumpsuit, and I cut the top of the jumpsuit off, and so they became pants. I was often making little alterations in my Salvation Army finds, so I would call it my Salvation Army couture. Salvation Armani, if you will. And I had a shaved head at the time, and I started wearing makeup in high school. So I began to exist in this gender non-conforming androgynous space. And so I graduated from the Alabama School of Fine Arts as a dance major, and then I got into Indiana University in Bloomington with a dance and an academic scholarship. Thank you very much. And I went to IU Bloomington for 2 years, and then I transferred to Marymount Manhattan College, and finally, I was in New York City! And I say it like that, New York City! My Oprah impersonation. I love Oprah. And I say it like that because New York City represented for me the place, the space of ultimate possibility, not only for my professional aspirations, but also in my pursuit of becoming more myself. So I continue to be a pretty good student at Marymount, but a huge part of my education happened in the nightclub scene of New York City. Stay with me. Now, when I arrived in New York City, it was the 90s, giving my age away a little bit, and it was the age of the club kid. Has anyone seen that movie Party Monster? Anybody? One, maybe two. Okay, so Party Monster, not the greatest movie in the world, but it sort of gives you an idea of what the New York City nightclub scene was like. Excuse me. What the New York City club scene was like in the 90s. Club kids were basically these folks who dressed outrageously in various forms of drag and gender nonconformity, and their outfits were so amazing and so creative, and they basically got paid to look fabulous and go to nightclubs and parties and dance around and party and look fabulous. They got paid to look amazing and party. And so when I arrived in New York City in my gender nonconformity and my Salvation Armani and went to the hottest nightclubs in the city. Now, this was the age of the mega clubs. So the clubs were like 4 or 5 floors, and there were usually lines around the corner to get into the clubs, and they were very difficult to get in. But when I arrived at the velvet ropes in my gender nonconformity and my Salvation Armani, I was let right in. And I never had to pay. They would let me in for free, and they would give me drink tickets so I could drink for free. And it was the very first time in my life that my gender expression was looked on as something that was valuable, something that made me special, and I should be treated in a wonderful way. And it was the first time my gender expression was deeply and beautifully affirmed. I felt like a star. I felt like a celebrity. It was amazing. And it really helped counter a lot of the earlier experiences I had around being myself. And some of the people that I would meet in the nightclub scene of New York City would change my life. There was a particular person who went by the name of Tina Sparkles. I love that name, Tina Sparkles. And she did, oh yes she did. I met Tina Sparkles at Webster Hall. Does anyone know, has anybody been to New York knows Webster Hall? It still exists, right? not as hot as it used to be maybe, but it's, you know, clubs in New York City don't usually last that long, so that's an accomplishment. And back in the day at Webster Hall on Friday nights, there was a party called Makeup Room that happened up in the balcony. And ironically, I was powdering my nose at Makeup Room. And when I say powder my nose, I was putting on makeup. I was not doing drugs. I know, I know it was the, you know, 90s and that happened a lot in the club scene, but I've actually never done an illicit drug in my life. I've always believed that as a poor, black, trans person with really big dreams, if I did drugs, that would keep me from those dreams. So I don't judge you if you do, but it's just something that I've chosen not to do, and I'm proud of that, actually. So I was powdering my nose, and Tina Sparkles asked to borrow my powder, and we became friends, not super close friends, but whenever I would go out, I would see Tina, and we would talk. Now, a bit about Tina. She was about 6'5", 6'6" in heels. She was African-American. Actually, she probably still is. She is African-American. She was wearing this big, huge Diana Ross hair the night that I met her. She was glamorous and beautiful, but she had this very noticeably pimply kind of acne skin. It was not the smoothest skin in the world, but she was one of the sweetest queens that you would meet. And over the next several years of knowing Tina Sparkles, I watched her transform. I watched her transition from a statuesque queen to a beautiful, elegant, sophisticated woman with flawless skin, thank you very much. And I remember saying to myself, if Tina can do this, what can I do? And if it weren't for Tina Sparkles and all of the amazing transgender women I met in the nightclub scene of New York City, I might not have ended up at Dr. Rish's office so many years ago, over a decade ago, for my first hormone shot in the beginning of my medical transition. Now, this part of my story means so much to me because I arrived in New York City with all of these misconceptions about who transgender people were based on what I had seen in the media, based on the fear of God that was put in me from Miss Ridgway and my mother around ending up in New Orleans wearing a dress. I didn't associate being transgender with being successful and accomplished, and I was being groomed to be a successful, accomplished young person. And then I moved to New York and met actual trans people, and I got to know them as people, and eventually all of the misconceptions I had about who transgender people were melted away, and I was able to accept them and ultimately myself. And I believe that can be the journey for each and every one of us. If we have misconceptions about people who are different from us, if we just get to know them as people, I believe those misconceptions will melt away. Now, I imagined that my transition would go a little bit like Tina's, that 2-3 years into my transition, I'd be able to walk down the street and no one would ever know that I was trans, and I could live as the woman I was always meant to be and be happy, healthy, and free. 2-3 years into my transition, this was not quite happening. 4, 5, 6 years into my transition, still not happening. I would still walk down the street and I would get spooked. Now, spooked is a colloquialism in the transgender community, specifically in New York City, which denotes that someone can look at you and tell that you're trans. In other parts of the country, trans people say clocked, but since I still live in New York City, I still say spooked. And now, it took me many, many years to fully internalize, and it's something I still work on, that if someone can look at me and tell that I'm trans is not only just okay, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, because trans is beautiful. All of those things about me that make me uniquely and beautifully trans, I celebrate today. And earlier this year, I started a hashtag trans is beautiful, to celebrate all of those things about trans people that make us uniquely, noticeably, and beautifully trans. And then I started thinking that trans is beautiful is not just for trans people, it's for everybody, to celebrate all of those things about ourselves that don't fall neatly into someone else's expectations of what we're supposed to look like. So I encourage all of you to go out and tweet hashtag trans is beautiful to Instagram and Facebook, hashtag trans is beautiful, to celebrate all those unique things about yourselves. Now, when I would walk down the street and I would get spooked, people wouldn't say, I think that's a transgender woman over there. No. They would usually say something like, that's a man. Oh, that's a man right there. What? That's a man. Something like that. And they would say it so loudly that everyone within like a 3-mile radius could hear them. And now I say that sort of jokingly, trying to make fun. We know that marginalized folks, we often make fun of and try to make jokes out of things that can be very painful, oppressive and discriminatory moments. We often try to make fun of them, make light of them. But after all these years of experiencing this, I've come to believe that calling a transgender woman a man, misgendering a transgender person, is an act of violence. So many times when I have experienced this, there was a subtext of a threat, a subtext of violence attached. Just a few years ago, I was walking in my neighborhood in Midtown Manhattan, and I passed this man on the street, and as I passed him, he said, "You like a dude who can really fight." And I was looking around, I was like, who is he talking to? And there was no one else around, and he wasn't on a Bluetooth or headphones, so he was talking to me. And now, mind you, I'm a very practiced New Yorker. I'm really good at walking down the street and staying in my zone, not making eye contact. I think I was going to the deli to get some Doritos, so I was really focused. And this man took me having the audacity to leave my apartment as myself as a moment to threaten me, to make me feel unsafe in that moment. But I got out of that situation unharmed, thank God. But there was another moment in 2008 when I was walking down the street again in my neighborhood in Midtown Manhattan, and I passed a group of young men. And as I passed this group of young men, I heard anti-gay slurs, I heard anti-trans slurs, and then one of them yelled, "That's a man," and then kicked me. And I remember being stunned for a moment. I was like, did this just happen to me? And then I immediately retreated into a nearby store and called the police. And by the time the police arrived on the scene, the perpetrators had gotten away. And I am happy to report that I had a pretty decent experience with the police that day. Often transgender people do not feel comfortable reporting being victims or survivors of crime to the police, particularly trans people of color. Far too often we are re-victimized by the police. We are criminalized by the police. Over 40% of trans people report not feeling safe reporting being victims or survivors of crime to the police. But that day I had a pretty decent experience with the police, and it felt empowering to say to them and to the world that I do not deserve to be treated this way. And even though I have still a good bit of trauma associated with being attacked on the street that day, I feel very blessed that that is the worst of what's happened to me, at least as an adult. Much worse things happened when I was a kid, but we can't get into all of that. I feel very blessed because for far too many trans people, it is much, much worse, particularly trans people of color. On August 17th of 2013, a young woman, 21-year-old African-American transgender woman by the name of Alon Nettles was walking down the street in Harlem, New York with a friend of hers. She was catcalled by a group of young men, and one of the young men realized she was transgender and beat her into a coma. 5 days later, she was pronounced brain dead, and she was taken off of life support. And it took over a year and a half for them to make an arrest for the murder of Alon Nettles. But finally, earlier this year, March of this year, an arrest was made. The trial is happening soon for that young person accused of killing Alon Nettles. But stories like Alon Nettles touch me to my core, because so many times I've been Alon Nettles, but for the grace of God, I could be Alon Nettles. I've been walking down the street. I've been catcalled, and those situations very easily could have turned deadly. There was a moment about 12 or 13 years ago. I was in New York City walking to the 72nd Street subway. It was the 4th of July. I was wearing a red, white, and blue dress. It was really tight. I was feeling very patriotic. And as I walked to the subway, I passed two young men on the street, and one of the young men appeared to be Latino, and the other appeared to be African American. And as I passed these two young men, the Latin guy says, "Yo, ma, you looking sexy today. Yo, can I holler at you, yo?" Something like that. And then the African American guy says, "Yo, dude, that's an N-word, yo." Something like that. And then the Latin guy says, "She too good to be an N-word. That's a B-word, yo." And then they began to argue. That's an N-word, that's a B-word, that's an N-word, that's a B-word. And I'm standing there waiting for the light to change, just saying, God, get me out of here. And I got out of there safely, thank God. But this moment from my life makes me think about the interesting intersections of identity and oppression that far too many trans people experience on a day-to-day basis, particularly trans women of color living our lives. So let's break it down a little bit. So first of all, I was catcalled because I'm a woman. I've met some trans women who find being catcalled somehow affirming of their femininity, of their womanhood. I've never felt that way. I've often felt immediately objectified in these moments, like these men are trying to take ownership of my body in public space, and it feels like this deeply misogynist moment of me being catcalled. And so we have this misogynist moment of me being catcalled, and then one of the men realized that I am transgender and misgenders me, and that misgendering is transphobia. And so we have this transphobic moment. Julia Serrano calls the intersection of transphobia and misogyny trans misogyny. And then we have the racial component, the use of the N-word. Now, we all know that the use of the N-word is contextual. The N-word language is re-signified based on context. Hip-hop shows us that. So what I've come to understand from my own experience is that when people of color usually refer to me as the N-word, it is tantamount to them saying, that's a man, but not only that's a man, but that's a black man. They could have said that, used the N-word if I were white, but I think it has something to do with me being black. And I've often said the truth of my experience, that most of the bullying and harassment I've experienced in my lifetime has been from other black folks. And I'm always careful to state that this is not to suggest that black folks are more homophobic or transphobic than everybody else, because I don't believe that. I think that is a very dangerous myth to perpetuate. But I do believe that often marginalized people police each other. So black folks police other black folks, women police other women, gay folks police other gay folks, et cetera, et cetera. And I think for black folks in this country, there's something else going on. There's probably a lot of things going on, but I think this is one of them. In the United States, we have a literal history of emasculating black men. During slavery, during Jim Crow, black male bodies were routinely lynched, and during these lynchings, their genitalia was often cut off, sometimes pickled and sold. That is our history as Americans, our shared history. It is a dirty, disgusting, awful history. But I believe it's important for us to come to terms with our history so we can learn from it and grow from it and hopefully not repeat that history. And I believe that a lot of black folks witnessing me in various incarnations of my femininity throughout my life have believe that I am the realization of the historic emasculation of black men, and they have lashed out at me in a tremendous amount of pain. There's an expression I heard several years ago that feels so right for this moment, and the expression is, hurt people, hurt people. Hurt people, hurt people. Often the experiences of being marginalized, of being discriminated against are so deeply painful, we don't know what to do with that pain, so we take it out on each other. This is not to suggest that people who do bad things are just working out of trauma and pain, but I think that's a huge part of it. And so the question for me becomes, how do we begin to create spaces of healing so we don't take our pain out on ourselves and each other? And speaking of healing, I actually have to tell you this one story. About a decade ago, I was in the subway in New York City, and this woman was staring at me with all of this contempt, and she was a black woman. And I usually don't respond when people give me that kind of energy, but that particular day I turned to her and I said, "Excuse me, do you have a problem?" And she said to me, "I think you should die." And now I had never seen this person before. I was just minding my own business, and I understand that this was not about me. This is about whatever she was projecting onto me, and she was probably in a tremendous amount of pain. I have love for her, but again, the question, how do we create spaces of healing so we don't take our pain out on each other and ourselves? And speaking of healing, I can't help but think about my mother. About 8 months into my medical transition, I called my mom on the phone and I said, "Mom, I'm transitioning, I'm a woman, that's what's really been going on with me my whole life." And the first thing my mother said to me was, "But you have such big hands and feet." That was the very first thing she said, very first thing out of her mouth. And I'm like, "Mom, it's not about that. It's okay." But it was rough. It was rough for my mom. She had to get used to using different gendered pronouns to refer to me. She had to get used to calling me a different name. Laverne, by the way, was my middle name before I transitioned. Cox was always my last name. Yay. My mom is Gloria Cox, etc. And so when I transitioned, I just dropped my old first name. And my mother had to get used to using different gendered pronouns to refer to me. And pronouns matter By the way, when we talk with and about transgender people, pronouns matter. There was a moment a couple of years ago, I was going to the Callan Lord Community Health Center, which is a health clinic in New York City that caters to the LGBT community. I've been going there for over a decade and this never happened, but this particular day I went in, I'm waiting in the exam room, and the nurse comes in and says, "Hi, my name is David, I identify as male, my preferred gender pronouns are he and him, how about you?" I looked at him, I said, "Work." That's the first thing out of my mouth. Work. But I love that because that's a great way to create safe space for people to identify on their own terms. And now I am happy to report that now when someone uses the wrong pronoun to refer to me in front of my mother, she now corrects them. Yeah. But it was not easy getting there with my mother. It took many years of us having very difficult conversations across difference, me sending her books, videos, articles to educate her. But I am very blessed and lucky that my mother has always wanted to be in my life. She's never been that parent who says, "I'm disowning you if you do this or that." She's always wanted me in her life. And she's always supported my dreams and my aspirations. She really wanted my brother to be a doctor and me to be a lawyer. And when I said I wanted to dance and act, she was kind of like, But she supported it anyway. And she made costumes for dance recitals and bought costumes when there was no money to do that. And I'm really, really blessed, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my mother. But we got there by having very difficult conversations across difference. And doing it with love and empathy. And speaking of which, I was giving an opening keynote at this brilliant conference called Creating Change in January of 2014, and I was so nervous about what I was going to say to this particular group of activists that day. And so I called my dear friend Jeremiah Johnson, who was at the conference, and I said, "Jeremiah, I'm freaking out. What should I say? Help." And he comes to my room, and Jeremiah reminded me that day that he and I have had some very difficult conversations across difference. Jeremiah is a white gay man who is living with HIV. He is a fierce AIDS activist. And he reminded me that day that he's often not known what the right things to say to me might be, a black transgender woman. He's been afraid of saying the wrong things to me. And he reminded me that I've not often known what the right things to say to him might be, a person living with HIV. But we had those conversations anyway. We created safe space so that we can take risks and make mistakes. And I am so happy that we had those conversations. The understanding that I now have about the extent to which we still deeply stigmatize and even criminalize people living with HIV in this country. I would not have that understanding if it weren't for those intense conversations with my dear friend Jeremiah. So I would like to implore each of you this evening to go out and have those difficult conversations in your communities across difference, and have those conversations with love and empathy. Create safe space so that you can take risk and make mistakes. And have those conversations with a lot of love and empathy, remembering that empathy is the antidote to shame, that shame cannot survive in an environment of empathy. Have those conversations towards getting to a better understanding of who the other person is and ultimately of who you are. Thank you so much, North Carolina Central University. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're so kind. Thank you so much. We have about 15 minutes for questions and answers, and I see that we have microphones in either aisle, so line up and let's do this. Ask me almost anything. Is there water? Is there water? Don't be shy. I'm living for this green bag. I'm sorry, I'm living. I gotta tell you. Work. That is so cute. Alrighty, let's start with you. Shh. Someone's on the mic.
What advice would you give for parents who have kids who are trying to transition or kids who have told them that they're going through that process?
And the question is, what advice would I give to parents who have kids who are transitioning or have told them that they'd like to go through that process? More and more, kids are transitioning a lot earlier, and there's therapy for it. There's ways to do it. I always say get support. You don't have to do anything alone. There's a lot of amazing parents out there who are supporting their trans youth. I'm so blessed to have gone to executive produce a documentary called Laverne Cox Presents the T-Word for MTV and Logo last year. It's available online, and it looks at the lives of 7 trans youth between the ages of 12 and 24, and one of the young girls in this special is Zoe Luna. She and her mom are amazing, and their story is incredible. So check out Laverne Cox Presents the T-Word, and just find those, and go online to PFLAG and oh gosh, Glisten, and I can't think of the other organization right now, Trevor Project, to get support. Alrighty? We're gonna go over here and then we're gonna come to you. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
That's good. My question is, how did you feel or react when Viola Davis won her Emmy, and how did you feel during her speech?
Honey, so I was at the Emmys for the second time on Sunday, and so I was bawling. I was in tears. I was there. I was just happy. First of all, I'm a black transgender woman from Mobile, Alabama, who's dreamed of acting my whole life. There's never been a black transgender woman doing what I'm doing. And so just to be at the Emmys was a dream come true. And in 67 years of Emmys, there's never been a black woman who has won lead actress in a drama series. And that, as an artist, for me, that meant so much. As an actress, it meant so much. It was also a night where Regina King and Uzo Aduba, my castmate, also won Emmys. So it was a really good night to be black at the Emmys. I don't even have words. I will say that the first time I met Viola Davis, she's like one of my acting goddesses. The first time I met her at the SAG Awards earlier this year, I totally fangirled out on the red carpet. I was like, oh my God, I love you. You're like, ah! And I was like, I think I scared her. And so I was like, the next time I see Viola Davis, I'm going to be really calm. And I saw her at the night before party, and I was really calm. But then I went home and changed after the Emmys into an after-party dress. You know how we do. And so I'm getting out of the car for the HBO after-party, and there she is. And she's got her Emmy. And I just like, yes! I was just screaming at Viola Davis, yes, yes, yes! She gave me a hug, and so that's kind of, yes! That's how I feel. I think that's the only way. Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Okay, speaking of Orange is the New Black.
Yes.
Your character.
What's your name, by the way?
Yassine Abdul Malik.
I'm sorry?
Yassine Abdul Malik, that's my whole name. All right, your character in Orange is the New Black covers a lot of issues with transgender and identity classification. I was wondering, do you have any input in any of that? Especially the later seasons when it gets real intense.
It gets really intense, yeah. I don't. I just read the scripts and go in and do my job. I'm very blessed to be on a show that goes there. And Gingy and our writers really are going there now. We're shooting season 4 at the moment. And it's still intense. I can't give anything away, but it's still intense and amazing. And I'm so great. You don't want to know. You want to be surprised. You know you want to be surprised. And no, I don't have any input, but I show up and I get this wonderful stuff. And I saw Gingy last weekend, and I thanked her. I was like, thank you for writing these stories, because on my way here, I was reading about Ashley Diamond, who is a trans woman who spent several years in prison in Georgia, and she was incarcerated in men's prisons, and she is documented that she experienced countless sexual assaults. She was placed in solitary confinement, the PTSD. It's an horrific story, and that is the reality of the lives of trans people who are incarcerated. So it's difficult as it is to shoot some of the stuff we did in season 3. I'm glad we went there because that is the truth. I'm glad to be a part of a project that tells the truth. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. I love you, by the way.
I love you back. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have 2 questions. My first one is, I'm nervous. I'm sorry. in Orange is the New Black, what made you want to start acting, and what made you want to start doing that particular show?
Particularly acting, what made me want
Yeah,
start acting?
Mhm.
I didn't really talk about that in my story. There's so much more of my story. But I started, I always felt like an actress who danced. I always felt like it was about character for me. It was about expressing character. And I did some musicals in college, and I did my first non-musical play in college, and I started taking acting classes in college. I did my first movie. There was it's a terrible independent movie, but I was on the subway one day, I think my senior year at Marymount, and this woman comes up to me on the subway. I think I was wearing like this thrift store paisley coat with this faux fur collar, and I had like these long box braids and black lips with my fantasy at the time. And this woman comes up to me and says, "You'd be great for this movie I'm doing." I'm like, okay. And I got her information, and I ended up doing my first movie when I was at Marymount. So it just sort of happened, and the roles would come to me. And then after I graduated, I was like, I want to get serious about this. And I found an acting teacher named Susan Batson, who she worked with Oprah on The Butler, and she's worked with Diddy and Nicole Kidman for years. She's an amazing teacher. If anyone's out there as an actor, you should read Susan Batson's book, Truth. It's amazing. And she's this incredible teacher who nurtured me. I've worked with her for 5 years and built respect and love for the craft. And I continue to study and kept auditioning and just plugging away and being told no repeatedly. And I finally got a yes, and here I am.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is, when did pride come for you is number one, and the second one is, as a family member who has a close cousin or another family member who is transitioning, what is your place? What is your part, and how can you help in that and support them in this change?
Sorry, the first part of your question was, when did I get pride?
Yeah, when did pride come for you?
You know, it's a process. It's something I continue to work on, and it's something that a lot of it's about learning messages I received and learned very early on, and so therapy has been really crucial to that. And my artistic process has been a space that's been very empowering. Really delving into serious acting training, you have to deal with your trauma. If you have a character who's like, you know, getting beat down or whatever, you have to and you have to go there emotionally. You have to be able to stand in that and your own experiences where you've experienced that. So I've had to work through a lot of that just to be an artist and be an actor. And so, yeah, that. And then there's always been something in me, more as a kid, that ignorance when you're a kid, when I was just like, I don't give an F. I'm just like, F you, I'm doing this, you know, and that sort of ignorance kind of in that chutzpah got me through a lot, you know, fake it till you make it kind of thing. And now I'm doing the work, and it's a process. In terms of family member who is going through...
Who's transitioning, actively transitioning.
Wow. So you have a family member who's
Yes.
transitioning. And what do you want to know about it?
What is, as a family member, what is your place in that? How can you help and support them?
I think it's about listening. I think it's about sitting... Whenever you want to be in allyship with or support someone, you listen. What do you need? You said, well, you're going through this. I don't understand all of it, but I love you, and I love you no matter what, and I want you to know that. And what do you need? And what do you need from me? And ask and listen. And I think that's the biggest thing, and being there to support and care. And there's so many intricacies of things that people need in terms of support. One of the moments that really touched me, and when I was reading the New York Times article about Ashley Diamond, is that she's on parole now in Roman, Georgia, and she's staying with her sister. And her sister said, if ever you need a place, I got you. That's what it's about.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, how you doing? Can I just put you on Snap real quick? Like, do you mind? Okay. Okay, I'm loving it. Okay. I wanted to know, during your transition, when you first began, what was your relationship like with family members, you know, cousins, aunts, uncles, the kids that are younger than you, you know, like, say you may have a niece that's like 8, and, you know, what do you say to the younger kids that are curious about your life?
So, for me and my extended family, I've never been close to my extended family. It's always been my brother and my mother, and those are the only people in my family I care about and I'm really close to. I have lots of cousins and nieces and nephews that I was never close to them. So that has not been an issue for me personally. A dear friend of mine, though, she's really close with all of her extended family. She's from Georgia, and she went back, and, everyone sort of like said, I won't say my friend's name, but they used to be this name, now they're this name, and now they're she, and everybody was like, and it's a small town in Georgia, so everybody was like, coming by the house to see what was going on. It was like a whole thing. And she's just, what's amazing about my friend, and I think what has been true for me too, is that I'm just myself. I've always been myself. And I think when people, what my experience has been was if I'm just myself, people like see, oh, okay, she's Laverne, she's cool. And it's just like not a thing, And I think that's really just be yourself. I think it's important always been important for me to like insist on the right pronouns and be referred to by the appropriate name, because that's respectful and it's loving. But yeah, just be yourself. Just being myself. Alrighty?
Yes, thank you.
Hello.
Hi. My name's Daniel Hargrove. I'm an up-and-coming screenplay writer and
neato.
aspiring director. And
you look like a director with your headphones.
Oh, thank you. What can I say? And shows like Orange is the New Black has just really inspired me to be more progressive in the way I think and create characters. And I just want to know what advice you could give me and other artists in this room as to what we can think of and what can we apply to what we create that can be more progressive and open-minded.
Well, I mean, it's about finding your voice as an artist. I think every artist has a distinct and unique voice, and sometimes some people's voices are more politicized than others. I think when you're writing characters, it's about having empathy for every single character. Gingy Cohen, I can say this, Gingy Cohen and Shonda Rhimes were honored at the Feminist Majority earlier this year, and they had a dialogue during the thing, and Gingy was like, she said that they were having a discussion in the writer's room about whether someone who is accused of raping someone, if they're still a human being. And then some people in the audience were like, no, and then Gingy was like, no, I disagree. And what I love about Gingy Cohen is that she has empathy for all of her characters, no matter what they've done or what they're accused of doing. And so I think that is the piece. I mean, for me as an actress, empathy, really building empathy and always connecting in an emotional way to the characters that I play has helped me have so much more empathy in real life. And when we do that and we try to see things from multiple perspectives, that is what is required to be an artist, I think. I think it's important to study story structure, character, and just inform. So that the politics are important, but how you tell the stories are also really important. So study as much as you can and just immerse yourself in it. Alrighty, best of luck to you, and stay in the love. Continue to love what you do. Hello.
Hi. So my first request is, could you say hi to my friend Andrew? He couldn't make it today.
I'm saying hi to whom?
Andrew.
Andrew? Hi, Andrew.
Hey. And
why aren't you here?
He was late. My question is, what is your advice on people that have to go through those tough conversations with their parents about their gender and their gender identity, and like how to keep those conversations from turning into screaming matches?
I think, for me, I had that conversation with my mother when I was away at college. She wasn't paying for my school. I had taken out tons of student loans and I had scholarships. And so I was on my own and I was like, this is who I am. I think I would feel out your parents and see, you may or may not know how accepting they're going to be, because I think, unfortunately, for far too many LGBTQ youth, they tell their parents that they're gay, lesbian, trans, and they end up on the street. Over 40% of all homeless youth identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. And so I think feel out your parents. And it might not always be about coming out to your parents right away. Sometimes I suggest wait until you're 18 and you're on your own, just so that you can have a place to live and stay in school. And I think education for me is like so important. And I think if you are, particularly if you're a person of color and LGBTQ, stay in school if you can. It's not always safe to be in school. Get a GED, do what you can to get an education, because that is, when you don't have that, it's really, really hard. But I would say Glisten and Trevor Project are great resources to find ways to talk to your friends, family, parents about coming out. Alrighty?
Thanks.
Thank you, darling. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, we have a lot of questions. I'm going to try to get to all of you, but this is it. No more then this line. Hi.
Okay. Hi. I just want to say thank you so much, especially with the question that you just answered, because I'm on the ACE spectrum, and I've had a lot of stuff with my mom asking, like, do I need to go see a doctor and things like that to see, like, what's wrong that I'm not, everything. So it just means a lot that you share that. I had two questions, really, and one of them's really short. What would you consider your ideal day? Like, if you just had a day to yourself, leisure, whatever you want, wherever you want it, what would be your ideal day?
My ideal day, okay. And then what's the other question?
Could I get a selfie with you? Because my friend Ben met you at Hamilton College, and he's never let me forget it, so I need to one-up
Okay.
him.
So the thing is, it's about the selfie. I have to ask the audience, if I take a selfie with, what's your name?
Kaylee.
If I take a selfie with Kaylee, will you be okay that I don't take one with you? Because because I can only take one selfie. Like, will you be okay with me doing this, or will you be like bitter and jealous?
Take the selfie.
Okay, wait, I can't tell. Yes to the selfie, applaud. No to the selfie. Yes to the selfie.
Okay. So I can... You better put that burst on real quick. We finna move. We finna blow kisses. We finna blow kisses and everything.
So my ideal day, oh gosh. I actually just answered this question for a magazine, and what I said for the magazine is I wake up and I have a delivery, because I like to do a lot of online shopping, and the delivery is a lovely new handbag. So I wake up and there's a handbag, and then I sleep in and get a massage and like eat like amazing food, hang out with my friends, go to the theater that night, and end the night with someone who I'm romantically in love with.
Thank you.
Hi.
All right, hello. My name is DeAndre Smith. I go by D or Smitty, whatever you prefer. I don't care. One of my questions is when, how, why, and what do you have to do to get out of the shoe, Sophia?
Well, that would be giving away season 4 information, which I cannot do. I think, gosh. What I'll say about that is that, particularly after again reading Ashley Diamond's story today about the PTSD that she's experiencing, the paranoia, having spent countless hours in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment. And far too often, trans people who are incarcerated are placed in solitary confinement allegedly for our protection. That is what the reasoning that on Orange is the New Black of why I was placed in solitary. And this is an inhumane practice that should end. It's cruel and unusual. So, and there's activists and advocates doing that work to end solitary confinement for people who are incarcerated. I think we just need to end mass incarceration altogether, but that's a whole other conversation. So yeah, I think we just need to outlaw that practice. So that's what I'll say about that.
Okay, and my second question, I'm a PK, so I grew up in the church, the every Sunday thing, I get it. Have you ever been targeted by the church, and how did you deal with it?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think I know, I try not to read negative things about me. I know that after the Time magazine cover, there were a lot of, there was some Christian website floor slant writing stuff. And, you know, my thing is I don't focus on that. I don't focus on negativity. I try to always go where it's warm and focus on the positive. I've learned the hard way not to read negative things about myself. So I put my focus on what's positive.
All right. Thank
Alrighty,
you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
I am in love with your hair.
Thank you. So my question is, what advice would you give to a gender fluid and gender queer identifying young teenager about pronouns and gender and relationships at school?
I think for people who are non-binary or gender fluid, it is a really tough way to go in terms of gender, because I think transitioning from male to female is even though a lot of people don't fully understand that, people understand that more than gender fluidity, I think, at least in my experience. And I had a time when I was gender fluid, when a lot of my high school and college days, I was in this sort of androgynous, gender non-conforming space. And for me, it was a compromise, and I know that's not the case for everyone. And I think support is always key. I've gotten really close to a non-binary person recently, and I think supporting them and having people who love you and accept you as yourself, and then is super important. And then I think that gives you the courage to walk into spaces and insist on certain pronouns. And I think that I just started ending. A friend of mine from the Anti-Violence Project ends their emails with preferred gender pronouns, he, him, them, they. And so I started ending my emails on my phone, because you know when you can do the signature on your phone, you have to change it on all your devices. So I haven't changed it on all my devices yet. But now I have preferred gender pronouns in the signature of my email. So doing that and creating spaces where you insist on pronouns that are consistent with how you identify. No, I don't identify as that, with love when it's appropriate. It's not always appropriate. I still get misgendered, and I gently correct people. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you.
But find support. You're not alone. Alrighty?
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Courtney. I have a question about bathrooms during middle school and high school. Like, were you ever forced to use the bathroom that you were given for your birth gender?
Was I ever forced to use a bathroom that was not consistent with how I identify? Is that the question? I have been pretty lucky when it comes to bathrooms. A lot of trans people have not been. There's a scene in Transparent that sort of illustrates the reality of that. But I've had probably 3 moments in my adult life where I have been questioned about the bathroom that I was in. One by a patron at a restaurant where I actually used to work. She was like, "You're in the wrong bathroom." I was like, "No, I'm not." And she got, a little irate, and I just was like, I did my thing. What's brilliant about New York City, actually, is that a friend of mine, they give you, the Human Rights Commission gives out these cards to trans people in New York City, because it's against the law to discriminate against trans people in public accommodations in New York City, where if they were ever challenged about the bathroom they were in, they were supposed to give this card to the person challenging them, saying, "I'm a transgender person and I have the right to use this bathroom." Every city doesn't have those kind of protections. I was another time I was in a club, and the bouncer was like trying to card me before I went to the ladies' room, and that was about that too. And I was lucky that my gender marker had been changed on my ID, and he was sort of like really upset. So I've been lucky, because a lot of trans folks are not so lucky, and there's lots of bills, or a lot of the bills that have been sort of put forward across the country have been bathroom bills to discriminate against transgender people, to criminalize going to the bathroom. And a lot of those bills have been shot down. A lot of them have become law. And so just using when I go to public bathrooms, it's not like a place I really want to be. Public bathrooms are kind of gross, and so I want to get in and get out. I just want to use the bathroom. It's not like, just leave me alone when I go to the bathroom. And I think that's what trans folks need. And I think for kids, there have been a couple of cases we've heard in the news recently where kids, when they're singled out, when they've transitioned and they can't use if you're a trans girl and you can't use the girls' bathroom, that is a really prohibitive kind of experience for trans youth. So I think we need public policy in place to allow trans people to use facilities that are consistent with how they identify. Alrighty? And you were the last question. Some folks, you were the last question. What's your name, darling?
Hi, my name is Liam, and I'm actually a transgender boy, so I'm so excited to meet you right now.
Aw, thank you, darling.
But my question is, what advice would you give to trans youth who are still sort of struggling with accepting themselves?
It's a process. It's a process, and I think for me, everybody's different, because when you're going through medical transition, when I was going through medical transition, I wanted results right away. I started a hormone, I wanted to start looking gorgeous, fish was the term, well that was one term, there's another term that I can't say here, right away, and it took time. And so I think patience has been really key, and support. Going to support groups early in my transition was actually really key, to meet other trans people and realize I wasn't alone in what I was experiencing, and getting support. I think I always say that, but that's really, really crucial. And that my work has been loving myself the way I am today, even though I may want to look differently tomorrow. And loving and accepting myself right now the way I am has always been my work. Alrighty?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, North Carolina Central University. Thank you for all of you who stayed. I love you. Good night.